for our purposes of showing the spigot being installed, we're just going to use the existing hole that was with the sink because we don't have a sprayer on ours. Hole size for the Aquaphor spigot is 7/8 to 1 inch, depending on your installation and everything. What I've done here is went ahead and kind of pre-installed my air gap lines on the 3/8 and 1/4 inch barb fittings. Then you'll want to run your excussion up because this will set on top of the sink. From this point you can fish your lines and the threaded port here through your hole. Fish them down through and get a kind of a semi placement of where you want the spigot to be. From here you'll use your slip washer. Your spacer.
Wait a minute. Your spacer.
Your spacer. Then your metal washer and lock washer. Then attach your nut. Once you get this kind of hand tight, you'll want to go to the top and check the placement of your actual spigot to make sure it is covering the hole. The handle and the air gap are lined up in the appropriate place. Once you get your nut kind of hand tight, you'll want to go back up to the top of the sink, check your placement of your spigot, make sure your air gap and handle are all in the correct location, your hole's not exposed, and you've got a good secure fit. And then tighten down the nut. And this nut does require a 14mm wrench. Or if you're doing the install by yourself, that's when our little custom tool can come in handy. You can use one hand to secure the faucet on top of the sink and your little extension to tighten the nut securely.
I'm not sure the edge of that tool.
Like this.
Okay.
The next line that'll need to be installed is your product line, and it'll actually install into the threaded port here. You want to push firmly, make sure it properly seats out, then tighten your compression nut here. And this nut is a 13mm. Next we'll do the installation here on the drain saddle. You will want to check with your state and local plumbing codes to make sure the installation is allowed in your state or area. The most important thing with installing this, the drain saddle that comes with the Aquaphor is very similar to all the other drain saddles with ROs, including the H3500. The placement. You'll want to make sure once this is secured, the hole's drilled, that it's in a location that will allow for a proper drainage of the RO, and that there's no potential for it to get bumped or misaligned. if the hole in your downpipe here does get misaligned with the reject water going in, the water will back up and drip out the air gap. That's the feature in the design of the air gap, so there can be no backflow of the wastewater into the system. If you're unsure or your drain configuration is kind of confusing, depending on the age of the house, some of the plumbing can be quite confusing. You can give us a call here at the factory or check your installation manual for some alternatives. For our configuration here is pretty simple. We'll just install it on this pipe here that comes out of our drain or out of our sink. You'll just want to mark the location for the hole. Then drill the hole. You'll want to attach the foam piece to where the connection from the drain line is made to the saddle. Make the placement and go ahead and start your nuts. Before you secure it in place, you can use your screwdriver to make sure there is a very good alignment of the hole that you drilled and the flow of water coming from the air gap through the saddle valve. And then tighten it. You want to be careful not to over tighten it, but you do want to check and make sure you get a good compression here on this foam seal. That will help prevent any water leaks. And the only thing left is to connect your reject line from the air gap spigot into the fitting. The next thing that we'll do is we'll install the angle stop valve or the RO feed water shutoff that connects to your faucet connector. For our installation, we just have the stainless steel supply lines here and a shutoff. You will want to shut the water supply off at this point to disconnect your supply line going to your spigot. Your angle stop does come with some directions, but really all you're doing is just screwing it in line, tapping into the faucet connector here so you can get raw water feed to your RO. In an actual home, you wouldn't be able to turn this. This will require a 5/8 inch wrench to just tighten your fittings down securely so there's no water leaks. The actual shutoff portion and John Guest fitting here will rotate, so you can put it in any location needed to install the RO. You will want to keep in mind anytime you do service on the RO, you will use this shutoff to bypass the unit from the feed supply. Like with most shutoffs, the handle is in line with the line. That means water flow. When it's turned from the line, that would indicate that it's in shutoff or bypass. Once your angle stop is installed and you want to put it in bypass, you can turn the main water or the feed supply to the sink back on and check the connections for leaks. Once we have all the faucet, the angle stop, and the saddle drain all installed, the only thing left is to connect those to our RO. You will want to make sure that you have adequate space available and the proper location for where you want the RO to set and remain and operate.
Okay.
The only thing you need to do is really remove your retaining clips here off of the connections. And for our installation, we have a mock-up sink, so the placement and everything is pretty easy. You will want to take measurements and double check and make sure you have plenty of room for everything. Your feed supply from the angle stop, you'll want to connect the 3/8 inch line from there. And it will go to the 3/8 feed connection on this port of the Aquaphor RO. I definitely recommend tube cutters of some sort. There's many types on the market. You want a nice, clean, smooth cut. Insert it fully. If you use a pocket knife or a box knife, there's a good possibility you won't get a nice, smooth, even cut, and that could damage the O-rings that are in the fitting itself and cause potential leaks. The next line that we can connect is the product line, which is in the middle. We've already connected it to our spigot. So we'll just want to check for the proper length. Make another cut. Insert it and reinstall your clip. And then finally the reject water, which we've already connected to the air gap at the faucet. So we'll make the install for that line. And then return the clip. You'll want to make sure to leave plenty of line here so you can pull the RO out from underneath the cover to do filter changes or maintenance, possibly service the equipment. So be careful not to cut your lines too short. Give yourself plenty of space. The only thing left to do is turn the feed water supply on. Make sure your filters are in the rinsing process. Give the RO a really good rinse. Switch the filters to the working order. You'll want to dump about 2 storage tanks, and then the customer's ready to enjoy the water.